The final race, race number 10. We're back onto the turf for the last. This is a Class 3 over the 1,400 metres with a number of interesting horses making their Hong Kong debuts, including the Irishman. Now with Francis Lloyd, Vincent Ho will ride to him. Beauty Joy is first up since January. We've got Rise Brethren, Hong Kong debut for him, as it is Turin Red Star for Douglas White and Harry Bentley. Perfect Pair is first up since June. We got All Beauty, was a winner 2 starts back midfield last time out. Science Patch, Sky Forever, and Sycamoro, who is to be ridden by Keith Young from barrier 14 as the headgear comes off the hood and the pacifier top.
Pace good to slow in this final race. Science Patch led them up the last time out, then was headed in the straight. And outside of that, Paul, with the newcomers, where do they land?
I thought the Irishman can go forward because doesn't look like too much pace at all in this race. As you mentioned, Science Patch looks like the only one. So I thought he could go forward. The other first starters, Turin Red Sun and Rise Brethren towards midfield.
Yeah, we'll touch on all the first starters here from Douglas White shortly as well to talk about Turin Red Sun. But we'll start off, Paul, with Sky Forever and Pakistan Friends. Sky Forever gets Joe Moreira on board, but gets another wide gate as well.
Hasn't he been unlucky with his gates, I saw? Again, he comes up with a wide gate. Look, he's carded to carry 114. He might be one over with Joe aboard. But look, 11 and 14 at his 2 last starts from the draw. He'll get going early, I think, and try and get himself into the race. He's definitely in for me.
He probably just peaked on his run a little bit there, but he was entitled to do so with all that ground he covered last time out. It didn't quite get him in, just the draw was the concern I had.
OK, there's a few beauty horses in the race. Tom, we're looking at All Beauty here, and Sycamore, who weekends out to run last.
Yeah, well, All Beauty, he was sort of on the fence and then came off at the 600. He looked a little flat to my eye on the turn, but then he's stayed on well enough behind I'm a Single Man and also Blaze Warrior in this race as well. So he was OK here, I thought, last time out. Happy to leave out Sycamore.
Yeah, Sycamore, I didn't entertain him. Cheek Pieces come off All Beauty. Look, All Beauty's win was at Happy Valley, so he has been placed at Sha Tin before, so jury's out whether he's better at Happy Valley. He's only had the 4 starts, so it's a bit early to tell. OK, let's start on the debutantes then, Paul. The Irishman, the first one we'll have a look at. He's had 3 trials for Francis Lloyd. Yeah, £1,050. I haven't minded his trials as well, behind the likes of California Spangle. Look, from barrier 11, I just think he'll work across, and he's a decent price. He's like 30 to 1. He comes out with some pretty good form lines in New Zealand and Australia, and has won fresh up in the past in New Zealand.
Yeah, so he was Tony Pike first of all, and then went to Mark Newnham and had a few runs over there in Sydney, including the Far Lap Stakes and the Carbine Club Stakes. The trial was OK. Just happy to watch some of these PPs first up. Sometimes you get a better line on them after that.
OK, Beauty Joy, this is interesting, Tom. First up since January, he's short in the market. Zach Purton will ride him.
Yes, now he, of course, lined up Beauty Joy through the classic mile behind excellent proposal, was well down the track on that occasion. He's had 3 trials on with Zach Purton, and they've all had the hood on Beauty Joy. So he's up £21. I'd be interested to see what he can do here.
Yeah, look, I included him. I just wanted to keep him safe because, they thought a lot of him to go into that 4-year-old series. This doesn't look like an overly strong Class 3 race.
Yeah, he was 4 from 4 in Western Australia as Talladega before he left to come here. This is Rise Brethren, Paul.
Yeah, so he comes in here off. He's had 4 trials to Rise Brethren. He's £1,086. Now ridden by Ruin Meyer. Tongue tie goes on him. Did catch the eye over the 1,700 metre trial. He hit the line nicely enough.
Yeah, I think he'll be looking for a little bit further here. Rise Brethren, a 3-year-old colt, French bred, coming through Ireland and the UK. I'm not sure he'll be coming knocking this time.
I disagree. We'll talk more about that in a moment. He's coming out of the Britannia Stakes. That was his last start, in actual fact, for Joseph O'Brien as Liffey River. Another horse out of that race was Mithras. He's now called Turin Red Star, Red Sun. He's trained by Douglas White.
Douglas, Turin Red Sun looks a very interesting recruit to racing here in Hong Kong. What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, look, his form suggests that he's a lovely individual. He's smaller than one would like, but he's your typical Dubawi. Where he lacks in size, he makes up in strength around the shoulder and the back end. He's a lovely individual to work with. He's done everything correctly. He's given... he's had 2 trials with Harry Bentley on, and he's improved within what one would expect from one trial to the next. His last trial was pretty pleasing, and he's come out of that trial in good condition. So he's heading into his first race in as good a shape as one would want for a first run from a European horse. I think whatever he does on the day, he's going to improve.
And just given his European form, he was 6th in a Britannia handicap, a race traditionally that served Hong Kong well. Obviously, his form, I guess, if he can translate that here to Sha Tin and Happy Valley, etc., it'll be a nice enough horse to have. I'm
He
sure.
will. That race probably, I think Hong Kong's bought more out of that race than any other race. It's one that seems to stamp an individual, and if he can bring that form to Hong Kong, he'll certainly be doing well.
And just on Harry Bentley, obviously you've always given him plenty of support. Nice to see him ride a couple of winners of late as well, and he seems to sort of really be hitting his straps nicely here in Singapore, Hong Kong.
He's a lovely rider to watch, and he's obviously very talented. I would say, like your typical European rider, they come in here and they just take it slightly bit longer to adapt and adjust to the Hong Kong pace and quickness and just the extreme pressure. It's just, I think the horses are exactly the same. So, but Harry himself, he's slotted in well, and good on him. He deserves all the success that he's getting, because he's a hard worker and a good rider.
Yeah, he could have a good ride with this one. Interesting out of the Britannia. So Rise Brethren finished 2nd. Turin Red Sun finished 6th. The horse that finished in 4th was Dubai Honour, who'll be one of the favourites for the Cup next week. So we'll see what they can do. But Sky Forever here, Paul, is our favourite at 2.1. Yeah,
look, he's come up a bit short for me. I'm going to take a chance with the Irishman on debut. Has won fresh in the past. It has won over 1,100 and 1,400 metres, the distance of this race. He's a decent price too at 13.8.1. I don't think it's an overly strong Class 3. You have to be pretty good to win this though, so he's the each-way play for the meeting. Sky Forever for 2nd, and then the two beauties, Joy and Legacy. Legacy's put a couple of races together, and from barrier 3, I thought he'll get a nice enough run. 1:13, 2 and 5.
Let's stick with Hall of Champ. Here he's in his last 5 starts, his biggest losing margin's been 2 3/4 lengths, so he's been fairly consistent in terms of where he has been recently. Beauty Joy goes in perfect pairs, had a few little issues, but comes into this with a handy enough trial up at Chung Fa. Prior to that, sort of had been knocking on the door sort of at the end of last season. And Gracie Love went to Happy Valley last start. Not entirely sure that was suitable for him, but comes back here with a bit of a wide to draw. And prior to his last start failure, he had been honest. So 3, 2, 7 and 8.
I got Paul's top selection and Tom's top selection in as well, but I think Rise Brethren can run a big race here fresh up. He'll be better at a mile plus, but looking forward to a big run here with Ruin Mai now picking up the ride as well for Danny Schum. So there's the last on the programme, race 10, a Class 3 over the 1,400.